Good evening. You join me at the end of day 4 of the Montane Arctic Spine Races. Just over my shoulder, you'll be able to see absolutely nothing. Behind me is a massive, massive frozen lake, one of the dozens and dozens that pepper this area. This is very typical of the kind of terrain that our runners will have passed through over the last 4 days. Now, I'm going to do something a little odd here. This is a strange kind of visual content, but I'm going to step off camera for a few seconds and just give you a little bit of a glimpse of what they've been experiencing at night. Silence. To say that it might feel lonely up there is not a big enough word. To say that you could feel isolated in these conditions is just doesn't do it justice. But of course, they're not alone. Ed and Kev have our entire team building a bubble around them. So behind them at Stora Shafal at Mountain Lodge, CP1, which is where they left in the early hours of this morning, we have a team on standby in case they need to move back. Ahead of them at CP2 at Kvikjok, we have a team on standby. On the road in between, we have a roving team, and that road is 250 kilometres. It takes 3.5 hours to move from point to point there. Obviously, much harder for the runners, but it gives you an idea of the scale of what we're dealing with here. And then we have our team out on the course. 4 snowmobiles, driven by members of the local Sami community. You could not ask for people with better skills in extreme cold. You could not find a group of people with better knowledge of the terrain up there. We have medics up there with them, and Bjorn Sorensen from the Spine Media team, who, as soon as he gets a whisper of signal, will send us some photos and videos to show us what Ed and Kev have been seeing today. Although, from the reports that we've heard, they may not have been seeing very much, even in daylight. They started their morning with a frozen lake crossing and then a climb. There's then a long plateau section. Along that section, there is a hut approximately every 20-25 kilometres, 3 huts in total. Also, whiteout conditions. The wind picked up at height this morning, picked up all this light powder snow and created absolute chaos. They've been moving from marker to marker to marker, not being able to see beyond that. Luckily, the stretch that they're on at the moment really doesn't have a lot of deviations. They just need to keep moving forwards from the next hut to the next hut to the next hut. Now, in these type of endurance events, you will often hear the athletes talking like that you can't really plan behind the next point. You get to the next point, the next marker, the next hut, the next hill, and then you reassess, you adapt, you reset, and you move on. And that's very much where they are, and that's very much where we are now. We are adapting to the situation in front of us. We've created a bubble around Ed and Kev, and we will keep taking care of them and moving with them and giving them what they need so that they can keep pushing and achieve as much as they possibly can out here. As Ed Sellon put it last night, we will just keep moving to the next horizon and then the next one beyond that. We'll keep supporting them, and hopefully you will at home as well. Now, currently, Kev is a kilometre or 2 ahead of Ed, and that's how it's been since the early hours of this morning. At the last report, Kev is apparently going to move on to the hut at AXA, which would put him just over the halfway point between CP1 and CP2. Ed planned on stopping at the hut about 20 kilometres behind that to take a little extra sleep and hopefully be fresher when the sun comes up in the morning. We'll bring you more updates when we get to that morning and when we see what the lay of the land is. We will get to the next horizon, we will adapt, and we will keep moving. We'll see you there.